I was able to scale my digital design shop on Etsy to over $1 million in just 18 months with a $3 digital product. In this video, I'm going to cover my step-by-step journey from my slow selling designs to viral listings, to my marketing strategy, my email strategy, and now the simple system that I have in place that brings customers back on repeat so that you can just copy it. If you are new to the channel, I am the owner of Bailey Design Co., a 7-figure digital design shop on Etsy, and I now teach others how to create the same types of shops on this YouTube channel and in my online communities. So in January of 2022, I decided to switch my then POD and handmade shop to be purely digital. I decided to focus on selling sublimation designs specifically for tumblers and for apparel. If you aren't familiar with what sublimation is, it is basically just a method of printing and applying a design to a t-shirt or a tumbler, for example. You use sublimation ink and then apply it with heat like a heat press or a tumbler press or a convection oven. So to start off, let's begin with what did not work. In the beginning, for the first 2 months, the sales were super slow because I was purely designing things that I liked. I definitely was not researching trends or styles or looking at what was actively selling on Etsy. I was just making designs based on what I thought looked good and what I personally would buy. So the key thing to note here is that it is not about you, it is about your customer. So for example, I was selling this raccoon when I should have been selling this raccoon. So by March, I was starting to get really tired of the no sales. I had been researching on YouTube and it was clear that I should be researching trends and what was actively selling. I started looking on places like TikTok and Pinterest for my trend inspiration, as everything that I tried to put up on Etsy based off of things that were selling on Etsy were always too late to the game. So I noticed a trend popping up all over on Etsy, specifically on apparel. It was things like grungy skulls and skeletons, leopard print, and very sarcastic types of quotes, and skeleton hands with, let's just say, questionable gestures. So I made a design that was not me at all, and I'll show that right here on screen. And in that first day, it got 25 sales. So being that I had never had a design that had gotten over 25 sales, I knew that I was onto something right away. So then I took the design and I replicated it across all types of various niches that it made sense for that same type of design. Then I took the design and made a simple how-to video on TikTok. It was basically under 60 seconds and just kind of showed how to sublimate a design. And then it had a call to action to come and buy the design on Etsy, which of course led to thousands of sales as the video did go viral. And just as a reminder, this was prior to me using AI. So I was basically using commercial use graphics, a simple font that I found on Creative Fabrica and Canva to put this design together. By the end of March, my shop had made over $27,000, and by June we crossed over 33K, and this is just proof that this can be done with AI, though AI can shorten a lot of the steps that we back then had to do manually. It is proof that this can be done if you are just putting together your own graphics, or maybe you are a graphic designer or you use Procreate to create your designs. And real quick, if you do want my short guide on how to sell AI designs on Etsy, along with 15 of my best-selling PNG prompts, then be sure to click the link in the description. It is called AI Pixels to Profit, and that will walk you through on how to get started on selling on Etsy. So moving on to what I call my growth phase. If I could break it down into 3 different parts, the first one would be that I was listing a high volume of listings per day. At that time, I was listing anywhere from 15 to 20 designs each day, and they were very much trend-based. So if I would see something popping off on Pinterest or on TikTok, I would try to combine the trends as much as possible to make something completely unique. If a design worked, I would then apply it to other niches. So say it worked for nurses, I would then try and apply it towards teachers and try and stretch the design out horizontally as much as possible. The second part of this growth phase was that I started an email list and a Facebook group. So to do this, I added an email opt-in page to all of my listings, so when I would get sales, they not only would get the designs that they purchase, but the ability to go and opt into my email list or join my Facebook group so that I would have a way to contact them whenever I had new designs. This led me to not have to rely on the Etsy algorithm since I had direct communication with my customers. If I put up 20 new designs for the week, I could just email them and say, here are the new designs for the week. And inevitably, a small percentage of those customers would go back and immediately purchase the new designs. This is what's called sales velocity on the Etsy platform. So the faster that your listing can get sales, the faster it's going to move up in the algorithm, because the number one thing that Etsy promotes is fast sales. So essentially, I was bypassing the algorithm by sending the traffic directly to my Etsy listing, which then pushed it up in the algorithm for new customers to see them. I will say that to date, the Facebook group has grown to over 11,000 people, while the email list has grown to over 20,000 people. So people are more likely to opt into something and give out their email address versus joining a Facebook group. So now I only recommend to my students to choose one, preferably email, just because it's a lot less hassle to deal with a Facebook group where you are managing a community. Though if you want to do a social media following, it might be easier to do it on something like Instagram or TikTok, but then you are primarily focusing on video content, which is something a lot of people don't want to do. So if you have to choose one, the easiest, in my opinion, would be to grow that email list. Additionally, when you are growing the email list, you are not working against any algorithm, as you are just basically sending out an email to people who have already opted in. Also, I think it's really important to know that when you are choosing a type of design or digital product to sell on Etsy, that you are choosing a customer that constantly needs new products. So this can be said for a lot of products within the crafting niche. So things like SVGs or junk journal or digital papers or clip art or sublimation designs are all types of products that the crafters continuously need new designs for, because they have a need to create the next new product for their customers. Essentially, you are selling B2B with sublimation designs, or business to business because they own a business and they are making the end product, like the tumbler, to then sell to their customer. So it's a constant cycle of them needing new designs, which is why it's really important to have a way to contact them when you have new designs, so you're not waiting on them to find you or rank in the Etsy algorithm. So part 3 of this growth strategy was that I did run ads. So in the beginning, I started out with a simple $5 a day ad budget on listings that were already performing well. So this meant that they had already got organic sales. I was not at that time using ads to test new listings. So by June, I was spending over $100 a day and was usually averaging around $3,000 to $4,500 a month in ad spend. And the return on that ad spend was usually in the range of $12,000 to $15,000 per month, though we were making $33K during this specific example month of June. So you can see how much of that was taken from ad spend and how much of it was still organic. And this combined method of organic plus ads plus email eventually resulted in months where we were hitting $45K each month. So I know that I said that there were 3 growth strategies, but I forgot one, and that 4th one was my freebie strategy, which was basically created to increase click-through rate. So click-through rate is when the amount of people who clicks on your Etsy listing. So I used a specific type of call to action to get them to click on my listing versus clicking on someone else's nurse's tumbler design. So if you look at a lot of my listings, they have a sticker on them that say 3 free designs or 10 free designs. This is what I use to increase that click-through rate. So while there were 50 nurse designs, if there was one that actually said 3 additional free designs, which one would you click on? The one that comes with extra free designs or the ones that just was the design being sold? This method allowed me to visually stand out in the sea of nurse occupational types of designs when everybody else's listing thumbnail looked the exact same, and my click-through rate skyrocketed, which then led to more conversions. So then I just continued to repeat this process. So I would list anywhere from 20 to 100 designs per week. Then I would send an email, usually out on Friday, and say something to effect that Friday freebies are here to get them to open the email because you want to have a reason for them to open the email. Usually I would provide them with a few free designs, and then I would say, and also this is what was released in the shop this week, and give them a preview of all of the different types of designs that I had put out. A percentage of people would click through and purchase, which then would spike the Etsy algorithm for that sales velocity, and then the cycle would just continue. Ads were there then to push the winners even higher, and that would just increase the amount of buyers, adding them to my email list or to my Facebook group. During this same time of growth, I also created my membership site, which has been an additional source of recurring revenue as it's the same Etsy designs that I put up on my Etsy shop. So a lot of people would reach out and ask if I had a membership or if I had a bundle that they could purchase so that they would have access to all of my designs, as I was putting out a very high number of designs each week. So I decided to create Bailey Tumbler Designs. So now hundreds and hundreds of customers now pay either monthly, annually, or a lifetime fee to have access to all of my designs. And what this does is protect me if anything were to happen to my Etsy shop, or maybe I wanted to close it down. I have a backup and I have access to my customers via the email list or my Facebook group to say that I am only selling my designs on my own site. Also, if Etsy just disappeared tomorrow, I would still have income. So these are the things that I would tell a new seller today in 2025. Number 1 is to design for demand and not for your own personal taste. Next, you are going to want to make sure that you are researching new trends before they are really popular on Etsy. And to do this, you can look on places like I did, like Pinterest or like TikTok, and Instagram works as well. Next, you're going to want to prioritize to design in a niche that constantly needs new designs. So things like sublimation designs, SVGs, clip arts, and scrapbooking and junk journaling are great niches to get started in. In the beginning, you are going to want to design a high volume because that is basically the way to get really good at this, is practice makes perfect. And at this point in time, we have AI, so it makes the learning curve that much smaller as compared to when you were having to create with either commercial use graphics or hand create the designs yourself. Next, I would highly recommend that you start at the bare minimum an email list so that you have a way to contact your customers in case your Etsy shop were to get shut down, or perhaps you want to start your own design shop in the future. Finally, I do recommend to use ads only after you have a winner, as it will help you scale that much faster. You also want to make sure that you are not falling into the trap of perfectionism, and don't spend all of your time trying to perfect one design, as I found that the majority of designs never sell well. It's usually 20% sell super well on your shop, while the 80% sell every now and then, but they are not the ones that bring in the majority of sales. Also, don't underestimate the power of repeating what's actually working. So if you have a design trend that actually takes off, maybe it is a different variation of leopard print and tie-dye, take that and try and apply it towards other niches where it would make sense to use that type of style and pattern, and just repeat what works. Finally, if you are someone who does struggle with AI prompting or finding trending products, then be sure to check out my design club linked below, as daily I provide you with something that is trending but still low competition, the AI prompts to actually create them in 6 different AI tools, and the SEO. So it is basically done for you, exactly what I would be putting up in my own shop. So if you are in the clip art or the sublimation space or junk journaling space, then this would be perfect for you to try out. As always, thanks so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video.